Welcome to the This Little Lighthouse podcast, where I'll be sharing stories of encouragement for parents who are home educating and also stories of faith. I'm so glad that you're here and I hope you find this an encouragement on your journey. Hello and welcome to the first This Little Lighthouse podcast. I am joined by my husband, Berno.
Hello, Name.
And tonight we thought we'd share a little bit about our story to kick off the podcast. This is the first episode.
Our home education story.
Our home education story, yes.
So how we've come to do this.
Yeah, as it certainly wasn't something we expected to do.
No, we were planning on going down the normal, in quotation marks, normal route of just send your kids to school because it's just what you do, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And here we are, not doing that.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to hear what you remember from the start of our journey. How do you remember it sort of starting?
I think we started really thinking about it when our eldest she had to leave her nursery, which was like a kids love nature nursery, right?
Yeah.
And it was very Montessori based.
Yeah.
And so that was shutting. So we were trying to find a new place for her, but also we were thinking, okay, well, we're going to send her to school, so let's look at those local schools, nurseries, and the nurseries attached to those schools.
Yeah.
And I think what was really interesting was how, for me, I think it was for both of us, just how different the way those teaching staff interacted with the children.
Yeah.
And how significant the philosophy or approach that people used towards education impacts the way they interact with the kids. I think that was really quite significant, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we really liked the Montessori approach at the nursery. The children had choice in what they wanted to do. There was structure in the sense of they would have snack time and time for story, and they would go for a walk as well. So we loved that element of it.
The whole nature element, wasn't it?
They went for walks and
lots of outdoor time.
Learned about nature, and we loved that. And we didn't want to then settle her in another nursery to then settle her in preschool like a year later or something. So we started to go around the schools. And around the same time, so this was in 2019, and around the same time, we discovered that some friends of ours were planning to home educate.
And they knew, like, from the start, right, that they wanted to do this.
Yeah, but we weren't aware.
No.
So our eldest children were the same age. There's a couple of weeks between them, and so they would have been starting school at the same time. So we got chatting about it, and I was quite shocked because I hadn't really come across many people.
We knew it existed, right? We knew people home educated, and
your brother homeschools in South Africa,
but the people that I worked with, we were always joking about people who were home educated and they didn't have any social skills, and we were just
You didn't know that.
No. Well, this was people that I worked with. See, we were always just joking because some of them who were connected to people who were home educated would get really close in your face and. Almost like didn't know social boundaries and things. So we were always joking about it.
Well, you were at work.
Yeah, I was joking about it as well. Yeah.
I'm learning new things too. I didn't know that.
So it's quite funny actually. And when we, anyway, this is skipping a bit ahead, but when I let my work colleagues know actually, because we were really good friends, we're going to home educate. It really took them by surprise. They're like, wow, okay, good for you.
Brilliant.
Yeah. But then, wasn't that kind of your reaction as well when our friends said that?
Well, I remember very clearly thinking, that's all right for you, but I wouldn't do that, or I'm not going to do that. But having said that, I was so intrigued about it. I was really intrigued because I had a lot of respect, still do, for my friend. And so was just really intrigued to understand, why would you do that?
Yeah.
So I was asking her questions, and then she was asking me questions.
Like what?
So she asked, what do you think education is? And what do you want your girls to learn? And I was like, what everybody else learns. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. I just hadn't thought about it. I always thought I was going to go to work full, well, not necessarily work full time, but work and do the school runs. Like I pictured that in my head. So then to imagine life not doing what I'd expected to do was a bit like, oh.
Well, you can't really imagine that, right?
What's this going to be like?
Yeah, because if you've got no idea what that looks like, then I guess that's why you have all these questions, because you just have no idea. How does it work?
And so because of that, I was really curious, and I wanted to like read more, and so I was reading a lot, and we started praying about it as well, asking God to kind of guide us and lead us and show us kind of what his plan was. And then I remember within the space of a few weeks, a few things happened. And actually, even looking back now, there's other things that happened that was really random. Like I remember having a conversation. I bumped into this lady in Co-op. I didn't know her. I was shopping with our eldest daughter at the time. And she got chatting to me, and she randomly shared that I think we were just talking about, having this time together with your kids, and it's precious. And she was sharing about how her daughter's friend was home educated, and how her mum, they would go into the woods and they'd go out in nature and they would read. She would read to her daughter. So she kind of gave this impression that they didn't do a lot of formal learning. They didn't really use computers.
Yeah.
And this lady was really surprised, because she said she's actually, they're in college together now. And this girl's actually doing, just as well, if not better than her daughter.
Right.
So that was quite interesting. But that was random. So that happened when our eldest was a bit younger. And then, around this time, praying about it, a few conversations happened where I started to think, this is not a coincidence. Like there's something, I think God's leading us this way. And one of those things that happened was that I was going for coffee with a colleague of mine, who we both know, and she was pregnant at the time. And during the conversation, she shared that she'd been reading up about Montessori, and that she thought she was going to homeschool, and she was pregnant. And I was like, what? I was so shocked, because I was like, we've been looking into this. We've been talking about this.
All these things kind of lining up in these conversations. I mean, they're all, from one perspective, you can think, well, they're all coincidences. I guess if you're not really a God believer, you kind of can think of it as, well, it's all kind of coincidental, but highly influential coincidences, because here we are doing it.
Yeah.
But for us, we really take God serious. We've always done that, and always pray about stuff. So, and the decisions we make is always weighed up with an element of, okay, I guess our kind of part of our life journey is we test the doors. We kind of see it as there's different doors, and we pray about it. It's like open the right door and shut the ones that aren't right. And that's always kind of worked, that concepts and how we pray and how we test different ideas, and the journey it's taken us on life so far. So and it's the same with home educating, but I think as well it's weighing up the consequences of that, really, wasn't it? Because if we're going to home educate, which that means there's not going to be two of us working full time. At the time, I was studying part-time as well. So not only was I working full-time, I was studying as well. And you were pregnant with second at that time?
Second was, no, she was around.
2019, oh yeah, she was born 2008.
She was around, definitely around.
But, and I guess other influence was, especially you read up on a lot of books around child development and brain development, and kind of considering the different stages of their lives and how they're learning and how they grow and learn. And that was well before we started thinking even about home educating. And you found that fascinating, didn't you?
Yeah.
And trying to think about sleep and how do you help manage their sleep.
And food as well, like with baby-led weaning, which was what the health visitors advised, that was very sort of child-led.
Yeah.
And you would present the foods, but the child would feed themselves rather than doing like the purees. Just little things like that. And
they've kind of got this built-in curiosity, but also they can kind of grow in their own curiosity. And which ties in with quite a few of the various philosophies around home educating, or not home educating, but educational philosophies, doesn't it?
Yeah, and just kind of going back to what we were talking about with the faith journey as well, like I remember thinking very clearly, if we're going to do this, I remember praying and saying, like, if we're going to do this, God, then I can't do it on my own. Because at the time, we didn't know anyone else locally who was doing it. Obviously, I'd had a chat with my friend who was pregnant and she was planning to do it, but she hadn't had her baby yet. So I remember that being quite a big step of faith in that sense of kind of praying about it and then saying, okay, God, like, we're going to do this, but I'm trusting you to
provide a community, people around you, when none of that existed.
And it was amazing to see how, kind of looking back now, the community that started to build, and seeing that now we've actually moved out of the area, but that's flourishing, that community, and more families are being drawn into that. And it's amazing to see that.
But we kind of committed to this. Right, we're going to home educate. That was 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was 2019.
Or that was 2019. Was that the year Aldous would have started school? And then I
think it would have been.
Or was it or the reception?
We decided in 2019.
Yeah.
We definitely decided in 2019. No, she would have started the following September because we were praying about it as we would have been thinking about applying for school.
Right, yes.
So it would have been 2020. And then obviously COVID happened.
Which was interesting because then everyone was saying, well, now we're all home educating, and we've made that commitment just before it started. But during COVID, people were like, well, now we're all getting a little bit of a taste of what home education is like. But that in itself was not a true taste of home education because we were all stuck at home. So we had to learn at home, but where most people had this kind of set work that was set by teachers and schools and had to follow the curriculum, we did not. But okay, again, our children were quite young still at the time. They were still very little. Young. So but it certainly is. I think the whole process of doing this is all underlined by praying. And I think with that, there's that sense of responsibility that we carry as parents. We want to do the best for our children. And so making a decision like home educating, when we ourselves haven't been home educated, we've kind of reflected on our own journeys through education and through school. And again, that was quite influential in our decision to home educate because we looked at that and we thought, well, how much of the skills and things that we've learned at school and the subjects that we've done, how much of that are we utilizing today or at that point in our jobs and just general lives that we were living? And we felt a bit disappointed with our education, didn't we?
I think a big thing for me personally was that I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. I didn't know what my passions were. I didn't really know who I was. And I really feel like my education happened when I left school in many ways, in discovering that.
So it's more in as a young adult pursuing life. You had the freedom.
And experimenting and trying things and figuring out, okay, what are my strengths here, or what did I enjoy about this? I mean, obviously, there's so much that we would have gotten out of our education, so many skills and things, and I don't want to take that for granted. But
it's the amount of, I think for me, it was the amount of energy that's poured into you in this stage of your life, kind of going to school. There's a lot of energy that goes into it. A lot of information being given to you in the process that happens. And because I was doing a degree, I was writing a lot of essays and critiquing quite a lot of different ideas as well. And so that kind of tied in with this journey of critiquing my own education, and looking at that stage of life. I've learned to do photography, I was getting into video, and I realized all of those skills, I could do that as a job, but I learned that outside of school. That was YouTube that taught me that. But that was driven by my own desire to learn, and that then gave me the discipline to see that through and practice it enough to do it at a fairly decent level. But it's not something I would do as a job necessarily. But that, I think that learning journey, that was the thing that really made me think, well, if only I had that way earlier in my life, if only I had that freedom earlier on, that would have been brilliant. So now that we have our own children, maybe we can give them that freedom and help them on that journey. But that was very much at the start.
And our journey in terms of our approach has developed and changed over the years as well, which we're going to talk about in a later podcast. But it's a real privilege to learn alongside our children and to see them learn, to see their interests develop, and to be able to nurture those interests and nurture that curiosity. Definitely a big privilege. One thing I would say as well is that it hasn't come without its sacrifices. I think that's important to mention. Not only in time and energy, but financially as well, because a big thing for us is that we rent. We don't own our own house, and if I were working full time, our circumstances would be very different.
We would have been very likely to have been able to have bought a house, and we'd have had all of that. But so there's big implications in whatever decision you make, and there's the sacrifice, and I think that's what we weighed up is in part of this process is thinking, okay, what are the pros and cons, whichever way you go, because there's no right and wrong here.
No.
But it's weighing up the pros and the cons, and then looking at the things that we value most and where do they lie, which side of it do they lie, and that's why we've kind of gone with home educating again. But it is a lot more complicated than that. It's a lot of factors, isn't it?
There's a lot of factors. There's a lot to weigh up.
That influences that decision.
And the other thing I think that helped in making that decision and committing to it was also knowing that as much as we are committing to it is being open to it changing. And, yes, we've made that decision for now, and we want to continue doing it, but we're open to the fact that it could change, So,
She's more open than I am.
Yeah, that's very true. It could change. None of us know what the future holds.
We don't know what the future holds in now. And again, sacrifices sometimes comes the other way around as well, where you have to give certain things up for something of greater value. And that's where you kind of have to keep these ideas, you commit to them, but you don't want to idolize it in a way.
No, and it's that thing of you don't want to hold on too tightly to things, and being open to being open to the fact that things may change. So I think, is there anything else you wanted to share?
No. I mean, that's our journey so far. And then over the years, I mean, you've mentioned it already, but over the years, kind of the way, especially, so Lucy's the main educator in that. You spend most of the time with the girls, whereas I work full time, and we think very differently as well. We work in very different ways, and if it would look very different if I was to do it full time compared to how you would do it.
I'm sure it would look different.
But it's a process as well that develops over time as you go along, as your children grow and as their personalities develop, and as you discover more about yourself as well. I think
more about them,
For us both, really, this whole journey included an element of growing in self-awareness. You were had counselling at the time as well, and so you had someone else to talk it through with. In my own studies, I had to do a self-awareness journal, and there was a whole process involved in that, in kind of reflecting on your own heritage and your background and your spiritual heritage and education and culture and all of those things. And so it's for us, it's been a decision not made lightly, because we've dug so deep into various aspects of our own lives, but also considering the future and what that holds in. So that is why, I guess that's why you do this course, right?
Oh, the course, yes. That is the purpose behind the course. So if you don't know what Bono is referring to, in September, I am running a course called Laying the Foundations, which is 5 weeks long, and it digs deeper into especially your values, looking at your values, looking at why you might want to home educate, and then it looks at different philosophies and approaches as well. And the final session will look at applying that and looking at your own family rhythm and the day-to-day and what that looks like. So
that's something we would have actually quite appreciated really at the start, isn't it? Being able to go through all that, because over the years you've dug into all those things, and that's certainly led to the point where we're at now, but you could have saved a lot of time.
Yes, definitely. And that's why I want to run the sessions. I want to give people that opportunity to explore different philosophies and approaches, and hopefully save them some time in doing some of the digging, but also to have the opportunity to think through your values and and why you want to do it and what that looks like for you and your family. So if you want more information about that, please do let me know and I'll send you the details. And hopefully we'll see you in a future podcast episode.
Well, we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
If I'm invited, yeah.
We'll let you come back.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.